So what I would like you to do first, Jeff, is take a few minutes and explain the Paycheck Protection Act. Just explain it to everybody so they can understand what it is, how it works. Then we're going to talk specifically about how real estate investors and agents can use it to help their businesses. So let's first start at the high level. What is it?
It is a brand new program that came into effect Friday, signed into law Friday evening. This week, the Small Business Administration is creating the guidelines whereby banks can make loans to small businesses for the purpose of the business taking the borrowed funds and paying payroll to their employees, to their salaried owners, to the independent contractors that work for them, or that they are an independent contractor, or that they are self-employed, paying that payroll for the next 2 months to keep the economy moving while we're not able to work. There's two unique characteristics about this SBA loan that we've never seen before. And this is what makes this loan so new and so novel and so talked about, is the qualifications for this loan are incredibly simple. They set the bar as low as possible because Congress clearly has the intent of getting this money out into the hands of entrepreneurs, business owners to meet payroll in the month of April. They want that money out there now.
So
the second thing,
who qualifies for it then?
Yeah.
So you don't just have to be an LLC or C Corp. You can be self-employed. You can be the sole proprietor.
Yes, you can be self-employed. You can be a sole proprietor. You can have all sorts of background. I mean, if you're making and reporting income on a Schedule C, if you're getting 1099 income, if you own a company and you're paying yourself a paycheck as if it's a corporation or an LLC tax as a corporation, it applies to you. If you're a pastor at a church and you're self-employed in the eyes of the IRS, you're still eligible to borrow money. If you're a nonprofit, first time ever nonprofits could borrow money, okay? And it's for businesses, small businesses, 500 employees and less. And I think that covers almost all the businesses that I know and work with, 500 employees and less. But here's the second thing, and this is what really has a lot of people intrigued with this, is if you use the money the right way, in the 8 weeks from when you receive the loan, that money is forgiven and does not have to be repaid, nor do you owe interest on the money for that period of time.
Okay.
I see this as a grant. And that's why I am so excited about this, because I see if you do this right, it's a grant, not a loan.
Right. So they looked at, 47% of America works in small businesses. So you said 500 employees or less. That's half of America works.
64% of the American GDP comes from small businesses.
Right. So Marco Rubio, the senator from Florida, was the one that sort of spearheaded this, or one of the congressmen that
you read the bill. His name's at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah. So they did a calculation, and they looked at the total payroll for every small business in America, and it was something like $500 billion over a 10 or 12-week period, and that's how they came up with this $350 billion number. Now, Jeff, they did increase it to $367 billion. They added $17 billion in the program for anyone that has an existing SBA loan. Meaning, if you have a current active SBA loan, then the SBA is going to make those payments for the next 6 months for you, which is pretty cool because it's not elongating, it's not forbearance agreement with the loan, like extending it. The SBA, the government's making those payments for you. So that's for anybody that has that. But back to how this applies to entrepreneurs. How do they calculate the loan amounts? Because this seems like, from a big picture perspective, I'm a small business, I'm self-employed, I can apply for a loan through this program, okay, which will be through banks. We are going to talk, Jeff, about economic injury disaster loans in a few moments, which will be directly through the SBA. We'll give you the link for that, but let's put that over there for a second. Back to the Paycheck Protection Program. I basically calculate my payroll, my 1 month payroll, and let's say that's $10,000. Then I take 2.5 times that. So 1 month payroll, 10 grand times 2.5.
No, it's a little more complicated than that. It's a little more complicated than that. We may have a spreadsheet. And Don, correct me if I'm wrong on this.
We do.
We may have a spreadsheet that is available to anybody that's listening to the call, but it helps them collect their payroll data on a month-by-month basis from the beginning of 2019 through today, March 31st of 2020. So it's really about 15 months. I want you to collect more than you need, but they collect it month by month, and then they're going to take a snapshot of the preceding 12 months before you apply, average that. There's a couple of extenuating things there, and take that average, that monthly average.
Those things, Jeff. Let's not be nebulous.
I will get there. Let me finish the basic calculation first. Okay, before I get into the exceptions, let me tell you the rule.
Keep going.
They take your average monthly payroll, multiply it times, which they call payroll cost, multiply it times 2.5, and that becomes the loan amount. Okay? So you can borrow 2.5 times your average monthly payroll cost. There are two exceptions to that. Payroll for any one individual in excess of $8,333.33 a month, that portion in excess is excluded from the averaging calculation.
So 100 grand a year.
Yes. If you're making more than 100 grand a year, you only use 100.
So if somebody makes $150,000 a year, you get credit up to 100, and then it stops. You don't get credit. Okay.
Right. And our spreadsheet's built that way to where if you've got that, you put it into that particular line. So then but what's really interesting, and I'm watching carefully to see how the banks do this. Greg, the one lender information you shared earlier, we talked about PNC Bank. They look like they're getting it right. Huntington, I'm not so sure about. Hopefully they catch up. But I got on the phone this morning with my good friend John Heyer and double checked my reading of the code, okay?
Yeah.
And he saw it the same way I did, which is you get to include in your payroll costs the independent contractors that you 1099'd for services that they did as an individual, where if they're filing on a Schedule C, you get to include them, okay?
That's a big deal.
That particularly is category BB under the definition of payroll costs on about page 13 of the bill. But anyhow, not to be too nerdy.
So
too late.
So then payroll plus benefits, retirement, state and local taxes. You're going to come up with this number with your banker. You have to go through a bank. You have to go through a bank. As of right now, this call, we believe this program is going to be available. They're saying Friday of this week, right? So we don't anticipate it might be on time. It could be at the end of this week or early next week. Hopefully, this is available. But you're going to have to go through a bank. You're going to come up with your 1 month payroll. If you're self-employed, no employees, you can use yourself, Jeff. So we're going to talk about a real estate investor and agent in a second. But just conceptually, you come up with this number. Let's just say it's $10,000 a month, and 2.5, that's $25,000. I apply to receive this loan. They're telling us right now loan proceeds will be available maybe the same day. There is no qualification for this loan. A typical SBA loan could take 6 to 8 weeks to get approved. This is immediate.
I think it's more than that, Greg.
Right? Because the SBA is guaranteeing 100% of it.